It's time for Reason.
I mean, if he's a socialist, then being a civil rights attorney, being a lawyer, every bit of money that he brings in, he should probably donate. I mean, like all of it. He doesn't deserve any. He should be back to that level again, right? Because there are people that live at that level, and that's unfortunate for them. He should probably be living on food stamps because all the revenue and profits that he generates from his legal services, he should probably donate and give to somebody else.
This is the Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier.
Then I get on my knees and pray. We don't get fooled again. Don't get fooled again.
Oh, that's what I'm talking about. Welcome into the Voice of Reason, the day we've been looking forward to all month long, really all year long. I'm telling you, this is the Super Bowl. This is the Christmas. This is one of the greatest days of the entire year. And you get to hang out with us right here on The Voice of Reason. Welcome in, broadcasting live out of the heart of the nation here in Wichita, Kansas, on the Big Talker, 1480 on the AM side, 102.5 on the FM side, KQAM, simulcasting on TV, KGPT TV, channel 2610. Good morning. Welcome aboard. It is Election Day Tuesday, and I want to hear from you. 316-721-8255, 316-721-TALK. Our Facebook Live feed is up and rolling as well. Get on there, facebook.com/1480KQAM. Like it, share it, spread it all around. Let's blow it up. I know social media, you've been hearing the news about social media trying to silence some of the conservative groups, you know, InfoWars and Alex Jones and some of these other radical, quote-unquote, commentators and political shows because they want to silence the right. We're not going to allow that to happen. And they even do that here on the local front as well. So get on there, like it, share it. Let's blow it up. Let's beat the algorithm so that way they can't do anything about needing to silence our views. 316-721-8255. This is, as I've been mentioning, this is one of the days where you just feel that giddiness, that warmth, that excitement inside. It's like when you're a kid and Christmas time's around the corner and you're leading up to like the last couple of days and, you know, 2 days beforehand, 3 days beforehand, Christmas Eve, and you're waiting and the family's getting together and the room starts, the house starts smelling like all the wonderful food and the punch and the music and the atmosphere. That's like what Election Day actually kind of is. Just to set the tone for you. You wake up. And you've been hearing all the political ads and campaigns over the last month and couple of months, and you've been hearing all the candidates wanting to go around and talk and meet with you, and you start recognizing the fact that, you know what? It is my civic duty. It is my civic duty to go out and to be engaged in the political process. Even though I may not be necessarily a political guru myself, I don't follow it a whole lot. I don't really care. It frustrates me too much. I just want to take care of my family. I've been pursuing my business careers. I just had a kid. We just improved our home. And all of those are absolutely wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. But then you have the opportunity to say, you know what? It is my civic duty to be somewhat politically engaged, to listen to what the candidates have to say, and to understand that our governmental system is the most unique governmental system on the face of the earth. Now, there's others that have tried to mimic it, and we kind of based ours off of numerous different styles of governmental systems in the past. But the fact that we openly transfer powers from one person to another peacefully during election time is massive. The fact that we try to appeal to the public, for the public to choose our elected representatives, not in a democracy based on mob rule, but a republic to where I want to represent you because these are the values of what my district looks like. These are the values of what this nation looks like. This is the value of what my state looks like. And I want to represent that in our governmental system. I want to represent those values for you and continue to allow you, the constituent, you, the voter, to have a voice. And that is the most precious thing, because if you look at the other governmental systems around the world, it's all about the politician. It's all about what they want to do. It's all about what their agenda is. And we have, I mean, obviously our politicians have agendas, don't get me wrong, but their agenda for the most part is coincides with what you want. When they say, I want to cut taxes, or I want to expand Medicaid, or I want to spend more money, the people that like that idea will vote for them. In other nations, they say, this is what I'm going to do, and you're just going to deal with it. Look at socialist nations. And we're not going to allow that type of mentality, that type of governmental system ruin and destroy our nation, especially here in the state of Kansas. Now, we have some great primary elections going on, not just in Kansas today, but all over the country. Ohio being another big one. And Ohio is another very big swing state, and that could potentially do some really good benefits or some really bad damage to the federal government when it comes to some of the elections there. So we'll cover some of that a little bit, but today it's all about the state of Kansas, and I want to hear from you. Are you going to go and vote today? If you want to tell us who you're voting for, you're more than welcome to do so. Also, any candidate of any races, welcome to call in at any time throughout the show today. We'd love to hear from you, your last big push on why we should vote for you and what you're going to do if you get into office. We talked to some great candidates yesterday. We're going to talk to a few more today. Really looking forward to it. But this is truly, I've been joking about it, but this is truly our Super Bowl. It really honestly is our Super Bowl because we are more excited about today than, at least for me, more than the actual Super Bowl. Because this sets the tone for what our nation will look like. This sets the tone for what our state of Kansas will look like, and that's more important and more exciting than I think than any sporting event could possibly be. 316-721-8255. Now, I have 4 different montage audio blurbs that I've put together and mixed together. They are a little bit long, anywhere from 7 to 10 minutes long, but each of them are for different races going on in the state of Kansas. And it's going to be tough to play them because they are so long, but I want to spend some time playing each one of these so that way you have an opportunity to hear again the candidates one more time on their platforms, on their stances, on what they believe in, on what they're going to do for you if they get into office. So we have one for the governor's race. We have one for the House of Representatives race with some of the hotly contested issues. I didn't get all of them in there, but I did get as many as I could. But already at 8 minutes long, it's very difficult to try and cram more of those in there. We have one for the Secretary of State's race, and we have one for the judge's race here for Sedgwick County. So we'll play each one of these at least once throughout the show today, and hopefully that'll help you. And I want to start off this morning with the governor's race, as it is obviously one of the bigger ones. Yesterday, as you know, there were some discrepancies when it comes to some of the polling, as Governor Collier's polling says that they are tied at 32% between him and Chris Kobach. Kobach's poll comes out and says that he is actually ahead by 9 points with about a 3 to 4% margin of error. So relatively close on both of them, but it is interesting how one is up and one is tied, and we'll see where it goes today. That is going to be a very big one. I don't know how long it's going to last tonight in order for us to get the final vote, but by tomorrow morning, we will have the Republican nominee going into the governor's race 2018, and that is going to be one of the most important of the fact that, well, let's see if we can maintain a Republican 2 terms in a row. For 16 years, could we do it? Or at least for 12, at least. We'll see if it actually happens. 316-721-8255. Let's play for the very first one here. Why not? Let's play the House montage with the different House of Representatives races. Now, as I mentioned, the last 2 that we've talked to was Stephen Owen from yesterday and Paul Wagoner on Friday from the 2 different districts. I did not include them in, number 1, because we couldn't get their primary opponent on the show to be able to do the compare and contrast. 2, I just didn't have enough time because I had already put this together, and it's already 7.5 minutes long. So I did not include those 2 on there, but they are extremely important races. We will run down the 12 House districts that do have conservative primary challengers in there, again, for you if you live in those districts, and to make you aware of the importance of you actually turning out and voting for those elections. But for this one, there are the House montage of the very strong elections, very strong districts to where we can have a very solid voice in these. This one is the House of Representatives that happened right here on The Voice of Reason. What did they tell us for this year?
Election 2018. Renee Erickson.
But I'm hearing great things on the doorstep. I think people are realizing that we need a change. We need to do something more positive. They see what's happening at the federal level and wondering why, as Kansans, we're kind of lagging behind in that area. Overwhelmingly, the number one issue I'm hearing is economy. You know, they're cautiously optimistic, but they still are uncertain. They want that stability. They want to know that their job is going to be here, that this isn't just some short-term upswing in the economy, but there's going to be some stability to it. And so I think it's key, like you said, in these races, that we elect people who are not going to continue to raise taxes. You know, Kansas was one of 3 states that did not grow economically last year. Well, that's unacceptable to me as a Kansan. Well, it starts with not having the largest tax increase in state history and making it retroactive. I mean, it starts there. When we put businesses and families at an economic disadvantage on our tax structure, we not only have a high income tax, we have high property tax, and we have high sales tax. You put those 3 together, and we can't compete with neighboring states, with other states in the country. Along with those tax reforms, we need to cut spending. We can't cut our revenue stream and then expect good things to happen if we outspend what we just cut. So it's a 2-pronged process. I think we need to look at our tax structure, lower tax rates, and cut spending. I'm a former teacher, principal, school board member. So I have almost 20 years experience in public education. So I know firsthand what's going on in public education. First of all, we need to focus on student outcome and get more money to teachers and students. The problem is these lawsuits will never end. They will never end. We know that. We've had 5 governors go through this. It's always, the answer is always more. It's a moving target. So we are going to have to either have a constitutional amendment or have legislators who will say, thank you, Supreme Court, for your decision, but we hold the power of appropriating funds for education, and that's what we're going to do.
Jeff Kennedy.
We have Jeff Kennedy on the show with us now.
I grew up in Pratt, Kansas, went to KU, took several years off, and lived in Colorado doing a variety of things. I went back to law school in 1981, and I've been practicing law since 1984. I think the Brownback experiment has been devastating for the state of Kansas. I have been involved with Jayhawks for Higher Education, chair of their steering committee. I have seen the way that state funding has trended downward, and the Brownback experiment made a bad situation a lot worse. We probably have about $1 billion hole as a result of that experiment. I think we're taking the right steps. But education, both K through 12, higher education, training for vocational technical jobs, I think that is the best way to ensure economic growth in the state. Well, I think you can characterize it as a tax increase. I don't look at it that way. I look at it as a restoration of some tax cuts that were ill-advised. The current constitutional amendment is just going to lead to more litigation. I understand that some people think that's a panacea. I don't. I think Sam Williams, as the state treasurer, has done a terrific job. We are back to where we needed to be. The estimates, the actual revenues exceed the estimates on a monthly basis. I think that we're going to be able to satisfy the Kansas Supreme Court in the Gannon case without raising taxes. I really believe that. Cutting income taxes is not the way to go. And I was convinced that the Brownback experiment, and there were a number of factors that led to that, I was convinced that that was the wrong way to go, and history has proven me right, I think.
Will Carpenter.
District number 75, and Republican candidate is on the line with us here, Mr. Will Carpenter.
My background, I've been a businessman for 30 years, and I know where the money comes from that pays these taxes and who pays them. I'm just a common-sense conservative guy out here that makes decisions knowing how they affect people. I'm hearing a huge amount of talk about property taxes, and how high they are, and especially for fixed-income seniors and folks that don't have any way of increasing their income to make up that difference. So I think that's a huge concern to folks. We compete with businesses or with other states for businesses. And when we don't have a competitive tax plan, those businesses are looking elsewhere. And we can do the best job that we can do on educating our kids, but if they can't get a job, find a job when they get when we get through educating them because the business has moved out of state, that's a problem.
Bill Riley.
Down in the Wellington area, district number 80, as you know, Anita Judd Jenkins is the current incumbent Republican from that district, and her primary challenger in studio with us here, Mr. Bill Riley.
Always I'm going to want to see funding money come to the end of the classroom. That's what we want. So classroom means teachers. Teachers getting that income, students having the money that the schools need for them to do a good job. Now, whether or not our educational funding package is correct, I mean, what we see as citizens is just the tip of the iceberg. I think the state education funding should be simple enough that a student that meets standards, a sixth grader that meets standards that for math, should be able to explain the budget. Overall, I would say I am 100% in support of the current Republican. I think that's probably the difference between a lot of candidates is I put that platform up on my website. I'm in 100% support of that. And so that says a lot. In addition to that, being a conservative side of the Republican Party, I feel like every time that we are sending money to the state, that is taxpayers' money. It doesn't belong to the state. And so what I keep hearing is the state is sending money back to the people. And to me, that's not what we want. We want the people not sending money to Topeka.
There it is, the very first montage of the day. We'll play that one again, but appreciate all the different House candidates coming onto the program. It's been a lot of fun chatting with them during the election process. We'll continue to do so afterwards when we get to the general election and a lot of the candidates that will be running in that one against the Democrats. 316-721-8255. It's Election Day. I want to hear from you. Are you excited about Election Day? Are you ready to go and vote? Are you ready to get that sticker? Because that right there means that you, my friends, have done your civic duty. This is the Voice of Reason. Stay here.
The Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier.
Minutes past the hour. Good morning. Welcome into the Voice of Reason on an Election Day, Tuesday. Making it happen, doing the thing, covering your election coverage, advancing conservatism, all at the same time. It's like the master web of awesomeness right here on the Voice of Reason. Welcome in 316-721-8255. The Wichita Eagle has your What You Need to Know for Election Day story. We'll talk about that when we come back. Plus, we'll get your thoughts on where to go vote, how to vote, the best way to vote, and will you be voting and getting that nice big sticker that says I voted by the end of the day. By the way, we will have some election coverage tonight here on KQAM. The NBC baseball tournament does start at 7 p.m. here on the KQAM airwaves, but during the game, in between innings and as we take breaks, we will be doing some coverage with 1 or 2 minute updates. I will be doing those throughout the night until about 9-ish and 9, 10 o'clock when things start wrapping up and we get some of the final results for many of the races here in the local area. So stay tuned for that on KQAM tonight for election coverage with yours truly. Looking forward to that one. Bottom of the hour news coming up. Lots more to get to on an election day here on the Voice of Reason. Stay tuned.
Fight.
Just you try it. Oh, I'll try it. Just you try it. You'll feel it when I try it. Oh, I'd like to see you have at it. Would you now?
And now's your chance to jump in the ring.
Are you insane?
Give Andy a call at 316-721-8255. This is the Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier.
That's what I'm talking about. Welcome into the Voice of Reason. Starting off your morning the best way we know how to do so. Better than a cup of coffee, a shot of espresso, even an energy drink. Making you wake up the right way. Interpret that however you'd like to, and if you want to be the trigger warning, then so be it. I don't really care. Welcome in 316-721-8255, 316-721-TALK. Rolling along on election morning. Go out and vote. If you don't, then what the heck's wrong with you? Get out. Here's what I want to do after you vote this morning. I know the polls aren't open quite yet. I think they open at, 7 o'clock, I believe. 7 o'clock is when they 6 a.m. They did open at 6 a.m. So 6 a.m. they are open. If you voted already this morning, then I want to hear from you. The precincts, are they busy? Are people starting to trickle in? And oh, by the way, I'd love for you to send us a picture of your sticker that says I voted. Send me the picture, a selfie, whatever it is, and put it on the KQAM or the Voice of Reason Facebook pages. Put it all over social media. Show that you voted. Let's make it happen, my friends. 316-721-8255. Facebook Live, it's up and rolling as well. A little bit slower this morning on there because, well, you're out and about and actually voting, because, you know, that's what you need to do. I want to play for you because this is the longest one out of all of them, but the governor's montage, as you know, all of the major governor's candidates came onto the program at least once, a couple of them numerous times. We try to get them on at least once or twice for each one, but we did talk to every one of the major gubernatorial candidates for the Republican side, and we had a joy and a pleasure chatting with each and every one of them. It was a lot of fun. We appreciate each and every one of them coming on to the show. And this is what they had to say here on The Voice of Reason, one of the most hotly contested races in the state of Kansas as of right now.
Election 2018. Jeff Collier.
On the phone with us, Governor Jeff Collier.
What I hear people talking about is they want to make sure we have a growing economy, and they want to make sure we have world-class schools, individual liberties are protected, and they want to see Kansas to be the place where their kids can see their future. That's what they tell me in the end. And believe me, there are a lot of ideas out there, and working with folks and talking with them, they want to see us moving in the right direction and getting things done. They just keep saying, make sure you get it done, get it done. Agriculture is our biggest industry. And so I've been out visiting with people, and we're bringing in new businesses. So things that add value. For example, we have a lot of dairy, adding value, processing that milk, building cheese, things like that is very important. In Wichita, we're starting to see a lot of changes too. I worked really hard with Spirit and NIAR, which is where we do our testing for it. And Spirit is now going to invest $1 billion in expanding jobs, and they're going to bring in 1,000 new jobs, and that ripples throughout the aviation industry. It means more housing, more gas stations, the whole 9 yards. And focusing on getting those things going. Where we are right now, we've really turned the corner. We're driving new efficiencies in state government. So, for example, on my second day in, we actually appointed a chief operating officer for the state of Kansas. First time that we've had one, even though we're a $16 billion organization. And what we want to do is drive efficiencies that get things done, using technology better, things like that. What we've done so far is stair-stepping in some money to that and focusing on getting it into the classrooms. We started to require accountability for the first time. And that was my insistence, that we had to have accountability measures. So you actually can look at the individual classroom and look at that classroom and say, how are they doing? How's that school doing? So that the parents and teachers, PTA, everybody knows what's going on. And I think having that accountability will really help drive some changes. I think we need to reform our schools as well. When we're dealing with the financial side, we're talking right now with the legislature about this. I don't think that court ruling was correct, that you had to do that, but it is the court.
Ken Seltzer.
He is current Kansas Insurance Commissioner. He is Republican candidate for the governor's race, Mr. Ken Seltzer.
Kansans chose me as their insurance commissioner 4 years ago in a very crowded primary. There were 5 people very well qualified, chose me to be their insurance commissioner, and we've taken that charge to heart. We have calmly, thoughtfully managed the office. We've reduced the number of employees. We've reduced costs. We have increased productivity, and a lot of people saw that and wondered why we couldn't just take that same basic, calm, thoughtful management attitude towards the broader state government. We have so many budget issues. We have so many runaway cost issues, and we need to bring those under control. I have shown that I can do it in government. I've been in business all of my career and then chose to run for an open seat as Kansas Insurance Commissioner, and we proved we can bring good business practices, thoughtful business practices to the broader state government. Up through last month, our economy in Kansas lagged the national economy. It has for a number of years. We need to make Kansas grow. That's one of the themes of our campaign, is to make Kansas grow. Kansas is 42% ag if you focus on the original production. We need to make ag grow if Kansas is going to grow. We need to make aviation and manufacturing grow if Kansas is going to grow. We have a really good service economy, but we need to continue feeding that particular part of the economy as well. It starts with ag, and it starts with manufacturing. I think every Kansan, including pro-education people, want more accountability in education. That is the biggest single chunk of our state budget. There's all kinds of fences around it. The Constitution, you name the fences that have been erected around the state funding of education. But we can demand more accountability. For example, last session, when they put in $300 million of additional funding to reduce the 25% underperformers on average in every school district, there was very little accountability to actually reduce that number for that additional funding. You'll get the additional funding regardless of whether that number increases or decreases. How absurd is that? We need more accountability in the funding that we put into it this year. There have been some feeble attempts, but we haven't had a governor who's got out front and tried to champion the concept of accountability from top to bottom in government, including in education. I think people of Kansas ought to be given the opportunity to vote on whether or not they want more definition around the word suitability that has been in our Constitution since 1966. We need to better define that.
Jim Barnett.
He is a Republican gubernatorial candidate for the state of Kansas 2018. Mr. Jim Barnett is on the line with us.
Our state still stagnates compared to others. So how we can grow our economy is a huge issue of concern for all. Ties into our kids' future, and how we can, attract and retain young people in our state. Jobs, big part of that. Healthcare, big, of course, and particularly in rural Kansas, how do we keep our hospitals open? Because they're struggling, and if you lose your hospital, it's like losing your school. Education, funding, finance, huge, getting out of court. The number one thing that the rural hospitals ask for is the expansion of Medicaid. This is what both Brownback and Collier have blocked repeatedly. But for them to keep their doors open, they need that. We're sending our tax dollars out of state, Andy. Tax dollars we pay go to other states. We've sent out over $2 billion worth. And yet, hospitals have become the bank for the uninsured, but they can't stay open if they're not solvent, just like a bank can't stay open if it is not solvent. So the number one thing that the hospitals want is Medicaid expansion to help them stay afloat and take care of all of the people that show up with the uninsured. Here are the four keys. First of all, what businesses told me over and over again that they need to succeed. The following items: workforce training, infrastructure, education, healthcare, quality of life issues. That's what makes people either decide to come or not to come to Kansas or stay. Second key is this: we're very different regionally. So Wichita is a lot different than Southwest Kansas, which is a lot different than Southeast Kansas, which is a lot different than Johnson County. The last time we approached economic development on a regional basis was when Bill Graves was governor. So we need a governor who understands that and also respects local control. Third issue is this: we used to think the state was just ag and oil and aviation. And those are huge industries, but we have so many more opportunities for economic growth if we would look at our assets on a regional basis and bring men and women together with their entrepreneurial spirit and their capital and find out what they need to grow, and then as a state help supply that, whether it be workforce or workforce training. The fourth key is this: we need a new relationship between business and education so we can train that workforce. Welders, plumbers, electricians, carpenters, wind turbine technicians, nurses, the list is long. But what we've been doing is fighting in court. We need to be working together, and we need a governor who will convene and break down those barriers to make that happen.
Chris Kobach.
Secretary of State and Republican candidate for governorship, Mr. Chris Kobach, back with us.
What I have sensed is a real frustration that our government in Topeka has drifted away from some really basic conservative ideals. I mean, what would we put at the very top or very near the top of Republican priorities? It ought to be cutting taxes. Yet we just had two record tax increases in 2015 with a sales tax hike and in 2017 with an income tax hike. And so there is this sense among conservatives myself included, and the people that I talk to, that we've got to do something to turn the ship around, because right now conservatism is in decline in Kansas, and we don't want managed decline. We want to actually make this the conservative state that the people of Kansas want it to be. Ever since Sebelius in 2004, Kansas has been using our taxpayer dollars to give a subsidy to illegal aliens in our universities. There are about 600 of them right now getting our taxpayer support to attend college, and it's a violation of federal law. It's outrageous when our own kids could be using a bigger subsidy to attend college, or at least people from Missouri or Oklahoma who are U.S. citizens who would like to come to Kansas. Contrary to the mainstream media's drivel that Kansans are no longer conservative, Kansans now like higher taxes. And you really hear that, especially in Topeka, that hey, everybody's sick of those tax cuts we had a few years back. That is not true. Kansans want government to shrink. Kansans want to keep more of their own hard-earned money. And you've got to take a strong stand, and I think it's resonating with people. They're saying, yeah, I like the fact you're going to try to shrink government. So I think it's going to continue to be a well-received message. Kansans are so fully behind the law that we got passed to require proof of citizenship. And in fact, a lot of the evidence of aliens voting comes from right here in Sedgwick County. So many documented cases of aliens registering and voting and canceling out the votes of U.S. citizens. And I think that is outrageous. Mm-hmm. And I can't believe it when the mainstream media says, oh, nothing to see here, move along.
There it is. Republican gubernatorial candidates 2018 asking for your vote today on Election Day. Who are you supporting? Who are you going to vote for? The latest polls, again, from the Kobach camp show that they are up by 8 to 9 points. The Collier polls show that they are tied at 32%. The Voice of Reason poll that we did just a week or so ago showed that our supporters, at least many of the listeners that are on social media, overwhelmingly supported Chris Kobach with about 89% of the vote here for the Voice of Reason. So there you have it. That's the way it runs down. We'll see what happens tonight at the end of the day when all of the results are in statewide. We'll take a break, wrap up hour number 1, get your phone calls when we come back as well. This is the Voice of Reason on an Election Tuesday.
This is the Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier.
Minutes to the top of the hour. Welcome back into the Voice of Reason, doing the thing, making it happen here on a Tuesday on Election Day. Welcome in 316-721-8255, 316-721-TALK. It's great to have you along today on a Tuesday morning, having more fun than what we should be each and every day. It's Election Day. How can you not be in a good mood today? How can you not be all giddy and excited? The polls are open starting at 6 a.m., so they're up and at it. They'll be open until 7 p.m. tonight, which means that you have an opportunity to go and make your voice heard throughout the day, no matter what your schedule may look like, whether you're getting off because of a third shift deal, whether you're working all day and you get off, lunchtime. Go lunchtime. And we want to hear from you. When are you voting, and when are you looking forward to getting the I voted sticker? Now, here's the good news. According to the Wichita Eagle, as of Monday, 9,384 people have voted early, which is up 65% from 2014. Early voting of total 5,701. There were 7,118 early voters in 2010 as well, primary in Sedgwick County. This is for Sedgwick County. 9,384 people have voted early here in Sedgwick County, meaning that we are up, we are excited, we are anticipating what this election may be, the importance of this, and understanding what this is going to do for our area. And I love the fact that early voting is happening so well and so successfully here in the state of Kansas and in Sedgwick County. Now, again, as we had mentioned last week, is the fact that the early voting numbers that have come in showed that Republicans have turned out for early voting about a 2-to-1 ratio to Democrats. Why? I don't know. Because usually Democrats do very, very well in early voting. So when you first start seeing the election results coming in tonight and you see like the 1% or 2% reporting in, those are usually the early voting ballots that they've already counted and now they can start reporting on. That's usually what those are, and that gives them time to start counting the other stuff. And that really sets the tone for sometimes, usually, the way that the rest of the race is going to go. And if they actually have the early voting in with predominantly Republicans, imagine what Republicans are going to do today when they actually go to the voting booth and they have time to do so, well, because they're working. we are going to dominate. And if you can take that number as a ratio and take it to the general election, then just wait and see how many Republicans show up for the general election as compared to the progressive Democrats. This is going to be a massive victory tonight for Republicans across the board, between conservatives challenging moderate Republicans, between Republicans that are excited for the general election against Democrats. This is going to be the night of victory for us, and I think we could start celebrating today as long as we go and vote. I think that we should have kind of our Super Bowl parties tonight. Everybody excited. Everybody go out and have fun. Everybody enjoy. And, oh, by the way, have some fun when it comes to early voting. 316-721-8255. Let's take a phone call as we got about a minute left, 2 minutes left before the top of the hour. Good morning. What's your name? Hello. Going once, going twice. All right, give me a call back. We want to hear from you. I'll put you on hold, and we'll try and get to you at the top of the hour here. By the way, we do have Wichita City Council member Brian Fry coming in at 7:30, as we always do on a Tuesday. They do still have their meetings. We will talk about that, and looking forward to that. And then he can do the last push as well to remind everybody to get out and vote. And, by the way, there is a Sedgwick County Commission race as well. I didn't pull the audio for that one because we just talked to Richard Ranzaw, Sedgwick County Commissioner. I did reach out to Hugh Nix. I did offer him to try and come on to the show. They acknowledged the fact that they at least received it. They did not actually respond back to actually come on to the show. So I guess if they don't want to, then they don't have to. But we did have Richard Ranzaw come on the show on Friday. The Sedgwick County Commission race for that area is kind of a really important race. So we will we'll do another plug on that one, remind everybody in that area to try and actually go out and get to vote for the Sedgwick County Commission race as well. When we come back in hour number 2, we got lots more of these montages. We have the judges race, we have the House race, we have the Secretary of State's race. All of the candidates that have come onto the program over the last few months, I've compiled them so that way you can see it race by race, candidate by candidate, their platform, what they stand for, what they believe in, and as hopefully give you a bit of a basis for what they stand for when you go and actually vote for them in the race coming up today. Polls close at 7 p.m. They are already open at 6, and I want to see some of the pictures and stickers of saying that you voted. Put them all over the KQAM Facebook page. Let's see. Let's get that activism, that excitement going on. This is your show. It's time to speak up, speak out, speak loud, speak proud, speak the truth, and always speak some reason. This is The Voice of Reason. Hour number 2 coming up. We'll take your phone calls when we come back here on KQAM.
It's time for Reason.
I mean, if he's a socialist, then being a civil rights attorney, being a lawyer, every bit of money that he brings in, he should probably donate. I mean, like all of it. He doesn't deserve any. He should be back to that level again, right? Because there are people that live at that level, and that's unfortunate for them. He should probably be living on food stamps because all the revenue and profits that he generates from his legal services, he should probably donate and give to somebody else.
This is The Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier.
Then I'll get on my knees and pray. We don't get fooled again. Don't get fooled again.
That's what I'm talking about. Welcome into The Voice of Reason, hour number 2 of The Voice of Reason, broadcasting live out of the heart of the nation here in Wichita, Kansas. Right here on the Big Talker, 1480 on the AM side, 102.5 on the FM side, KQAM, simulcasting on TV, KGPT TV, channel 2610. Good morning, welcome aboard. It's great to have you along today on the greatest day of the year. This is truly the greatest day. This is Super Bowl day. This is our Christmas. This is the kid not being able to sleep all night because he can't wait for Santa Claus to come down to be able to give the presents and be able to do the whole thing and the shebang and be able to wake up in the morning and start the day and have the nice music playing and have the snow being on the ground and being able to open the presents with the family and have the music playing and eat the great food and have all the family. This is the time where your civic duty comes into play, and it's the most patriotic day of the entire year. And as I mentioned, the primary race really being the most important race of all, because this is the race where we set the tone. This is the race where we get to set the platform. This is the race to where we get to set the image of the party. And I couldn't be more exhilarated, excited, happy, and hopefully you are as well. Welcome in 316-721-8255, 316-721-TALK. If you want to join in, the phone lines are... Well, they are kind of open. We do have some guests on here that I want to get to in a second. We also have the Facebook Live feed up and rolling, facebook.com/1480KQAM. Coming up in about 20 minutes, we do have City Council member Brian Fry coming in to talk about the City Council meeting, also to do the plug when it comes to election time. As you know, I opened it up yesterday and today for any candidates to call in for any race to talk about the last plug, the get out the vote. And we've had some great candidates on. We had two House members come on the program yesterday. We talked about some of the insurance commissioner's race. We talked about some of the judges' races. We've been playing the montages of all the candidates that have come onto the program over the last month or so already this morning, and we'll continue to do so. And top of the hour, we have two candidates on the air with us right now, and let's get to one of them. Really excited to have him back on. He is one of the gubernatorial candidates for the Republican side, Insurance Commissioner Mr. Ken Seltzer with us. Ken, good morning, sir. How are you?
Good morning, Andy. I really appreciate being on your station. As you know, I grew up in your greater listening area there, up by Gossel, north of Newton, and have so many family and friends that are still there.
Well, we love having the home feeling here in the area. How are you feeling going to the last day of the election here?
Very good. I'm a CPA and a businessman. I'm currently the Kansas Insurance Commissioner. A lot of people think we've done a really good job managing that office. We want to bring that same business-like approach to managing the broader state government. Let's eliminate the chaos. Let's focus on delivering better service at a lower cost to the people of Kansas.
Well, I think that we have an opportunity to do so. This primary election is really going to set the tone going into the general election. Talk about some of the challenges that may present themselves going into the general. As you know, I mean, historically, we go Republican, Democrat every 8 years for the governorship. This could be our chance to really break that trend as long as we do it the right way, correct?
And I think we will break that trend. We have a great opportunity here, again, with a candidate like myself who is thoughtful, calm, and gets things done. We reduce costs in the insurance department. We improve productivity. We improved customer service big time. And a lot of people think we can and should do that in the broader state government. Our message is getting traction throughout Kansas.
Mm-hmm. I love it. Well, going into Election Day, everybody's excited, pumped up. But last message and the last word for everybody as they head to the voting booth, what do you want them to take away?
Well, I want them to go. First of all, I appreciate your efforts to get people out to vote. That is the number one issue. That's what we have to do. We want to get more than just a single digit or a low double digit number out to the voting booths. Come out and vote. As you know, my lieutenant governor is from western Kansas, representing rural and small communities in Kansas. We have so many parts of Kansas that have been overlooked for so long. We need a focus on rural economic development. We need a focus on making Kansas grow, lean in on costs. We need top to bottom accountability. And I think people, when they get their heads around those issues, as they have been, they'll come out and support us and try to make all of these happen in a positive way for Kansas. We've got sidetracked. We've been focusing on the political issues. We need to focus on delivering more for our tax dollars here in Kansas.
Mm-hmm. Has that been kind of the focus of many of the constituents when you go and knock on the door and talk to them, what they've kind of brought up to you?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. So many people think that we've been just focused on the political issues. We need to focus on making Kansas better. Kansas has to grow. We'll never be able to invest in schools, in infrastructure, in corrections the way we need to if Kansas is not growing. As you know, we've had an economy that's been flat, and when it has grown, it's lagged the national average big time. We need to step forward, champion Kansas, champion ag, champion aviation and manufacturing, and make Kansas grow. It can be done. We see that in all of our surrounding states. It's not happening here in Kansas because we have a part-time governor. We need somebody who is focused 100% on running Kansas in a more efficient and a more effective manner rather than spending part-time being a plastic surgeon or in another alternative in this race, part-time being an immigration attorney for other states. We need somebody who is 100% focused on Kansas. My running mate, Jen Sanderson, and I will do that 100% of the time.
Making Kansas grow, making Kansas great. Again, Republican gubernatorial candidate Ken Seltzer, good luck to you today, my friend. It's been a great process to watch how it's all gone along with the election, and good luck to you tonight.
Well, thank you, Andy. I'd tell people to remember to vote Ken Seltzer for Kansas, KS for KS. It's easy to remember as you go into the polls today. Thank you so much, Andy.
KS for KS. There it is. Good luck to you, my friend Ken Seltzer, Republican candidate there for the governor's race. Appreciate him very much calling it. You know what I love about this is the fact that when we say that it's open lines for candidates to come onto the show and, just on a whim. I mean, that was on a whim. The fact that they're listening to the program and they want to have their voice heard. And to remind you to go out and vote. We appreciate that very much, Ken. Also on the phone with us, the shenanigans themselves from District Number 93, Mr. John Whitmer, State Representative. John, what's going on, my friend?
Hey, now, shenanigans. I don't know what you're talking about.
I don't know what I'm talking about either there, John. Good morning to you. Election Day, it's kind of our Super Bowl.
It is. And, I tell you, the opposition is hoping to continue their rhino wave. Mm-hmm. And I guess that's really why I wanted to call in I've got a Republican in name only running against me, but I don't think he has much of a chance based on the conversations I've had with my constituents. But,
sure.
We've got a lot of other races out there. Renee Erickson up against Jeff Kennedy. That's going to be a close race. Will Carpenter, Bill Riley over there. There's just a lot of really important races, and I want folks to make sure that they don't take this for granted, that they get out and vote, that they recognize that, if you want another $1.5 billion in retroactive income tax increases, then don't vote today.
Mm-hmm.
Don't get out there and vote for the conservative alternative, then this is what you're going to get. But elections have consequences, and the reason you're sitting here right now with less money in your pocket is because we voted for these folks the last time, and that's what's going to happen if we do it again.
Sure. No, you're right. And let me, you coming from the House side and you being part of the Truth Caucus in the House, and I've talked to you a little bit about this as well, but I posted this all over social media. There are close to 12 different seats that have incumbent Republicans that are not the most conservative, and we put their Freedom Index score on there as well, all of them in the negatives almost. And there are, for the first time in many of these races, there are conservative challengers in the primary, to me at least, showing that people are fired up, that they want a bit of a change, that the fact that there haven't been primary challenges in a long time in these districts, and the fact that they have a really good chance of maybe being able to pull some of these off. What would that do to the Truth Caucus into the House when it comes to the dynamic of the makeup with 10 to 12 more conservatives in the House?
Oh, well, set aside what it does to the makeup of the House. What does it do for Kansas? What does it do for the average Kansan who's trying to, live on a fixed income?
Sure.
Keep in mind that retroactive tax increase, that raised taxes on people making $500 a year over the federal poverty level. The federal poverty level is at $24,500 a year, and they raise taxes on people making $25,000.
Sure.
So set aside what it does to the chamber. What does it do for Kansas? That people forget that, and you are right. There are more than a dozen, but there are a lot of House seats in place, so much so that the minority leader has hired additional staff on taxpayer dollars in order to put people in the field to work in these primaries to defend some of these people.
I think they're scared.
And that shows you how serious they're taking some of these challenges.
Mm-hmm.
And I think people, I hope they realize how important this election is, this primary in particular. Some of these races don't even have a general. Some of them, it doesn't matter because the districts are so solidly Republican that the general is not as big a deal as the primary.
Sure.
But get out today, get out and vote for the conservative alternative, because if you don't, you're going to get another, $1 billion tax increase or a court-ordered tax increase.
You know what? I am more excited about this race than I think I have been in a really long time, and here's why. As I mentioned, we have many contenders. We have many opponents that are conservatives challenging primary incumbents going in right now that haven't been done in a really long time. As of yesterday, according to the Wichita Eagle, in Sedgwick County, we're up 65% compared to 2014 when it comes to early voting, which is major. And between the excitement we have with conservatives wanting to challenge, with early voting coming in And when we read the numbers last week for statewide, when the numbers were Republicans were dominating Democrat early voter turnout 2-1 in those races, and usually those are early voting usually favors Democrats really well. I think we're going to have more Republicans show up than we've seen in a really long time, and I think they're going to be the fired up, really excited, really energized conservative branch of the Republican Party.
I do too. Now here's the other key. There's a second step to this, and I mean, as you know, I'm a Kobach Hartman guy, but no matter what happens tonight, tomorrow I will be all in for whomever the Republican nominee is.
Sure.
I sure hope it's not Jim Barnett, but even if it is, I'll hold my nose and get behind him, because that's the other component to this. Is we've had a fairly divisive primary for governor. I will not support my opponent if by some fluke he wins, because he's just a rhino, and I don't want another one of those in there. But if there's a gubernatorial, whoever wins the gubernatorial nomination for Republican, we need to get behind him. And we need to unite behind, I hope it's Chris Kobach, we need to unite behind whomever it is. And if it's Jeff Collier, I'll happily get behind him. And everyone needs to set aside the divisiveness from this primary and unite behind, because the D's are going to come after that seat with full force and full passion, and we need to make sure that we set aside the rancor from the primary and go all in as a team and get behind our nominee, whomever that is.
Exactly. Let's talk about, we got a couple of minutes left here. Talk about your race real quick. I know you represent, of course, the district with a little bit of southwestern Wichita, with a little bit of Goddard, with Hayesville, with Clearwater, with Viola, with that area. Talk about your race and how's it been going so far?
We did almost 3,000 doors. We've spent the last over 2 months door knocking, meeting with folks. We've done a lot of events. We've been out almost every day meeting with people, and I can count the number of yard signs from my opponent on one hand. But that being said, you just never know. I mean, he moved into the district in May, so he's relatively new. He actually ran for the House twice before in other districts. So this is a guy that just wants to be in the House real bad, and he's run twice before. He believes in Medicaid expansion, and he's pro-abortion and anti-Second Amendment, and that does resonate with certainly my Democrat voters, I imagine. But in my district, I don't think that's going to really get him a whole lot of votes in a Republican primary, but you just never know. That's why we've been working hard and making sure to get out and talk to folks and make sure that they understand that there's a real choice this time.
Well, there you go. And then going into the general election too, I mean, you will have a Democrat challenger there as well, correct?
I have ironically, I got a carpetbagger there too. He ran against Joe Sywert last time. So I guess, what did Winston Churchill say? If you have enemies, good, that means you're doing something right. So apparently both of my guys decided to move in to run against me, so I must be carrying the conservative banner well, because I've drawn two opponents. So
there you go. There you go.
I'm waving that red flag. So.
You're the target now. Everybody's coming after John Whitmer.
Oh, well, that's okay. That just means I must be doing something right. So.
Exactly. State Representative John Whitmer, well, it is an exciting day. Good luck to you, and it sounds like it should be a fun night for your results down in your district.
Well, let's hope so. I mean, now it's in the hands of the voters, but I feel pretty confident. We've spent a lot of time out there, and now we just have to let go and let God.
Hey, there it is. State Representative John Whitmer, appreciate the call, my friend. We'll chat soon.
Thanks, buddy.
Always a pleasure there. We got some more calls on the line. Stay here. We'll get to you as soon as we come back. I got to take a break. 21 minutes past the hour. This is The Voice of Reason.
The Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier on the Big Talker KQAM.
$26 minutes past the hour, going into the bottom. Coming up, we got Brian Fry, City Council member for the city of Wichita. But as you know, it is open lines for the candidates to be joining on Election Day. The greatest day of the year. This is our Christmas. This is our Super Bowl. This is our this St. Patty's Day. I'm sure we're going to be celebrating like St. Patty's Day by the end of the night as the numbers roll in. And on the line with us here, another great call-in as we talk about Election Day. Lieutenant Governor Tracy Mann with us. Tracy, how are you, my friend?
Fantastic, Andy. How are you this morning?
I'm living the dream. It is one of my most exciting favorite days of the entire year. I know you guys are excited as well. How do you guys feel going into the day today?
We feel fantastic. We feel really good. We have the most momentum. We're up a couple points in the most recent polls, and really focusing on closing strong and getting our voters to the poll this morning. Actually, I'm driving to Wichita. I'm going to bring donuts by our campaign office there and encourage all of our volunteers as they're working hard this morning.
I love it. I love it. Well, I know you guys are really, it's been a really hotly contested race, especially over the last couple of weeks. And going into today, I know it's a really close margin for you guys. So good luck to you on that. Talk about going afterwards into the general election if you guys get the nomination. Predominantly and historically in Kansas, we've switched parties every 8 years, Republican, Democrat. This would be the year of the Democrats. Are you guys prepared? And what kind of style are we going into to try and maintain the Republicanship and break that?
We absolutely. I'm 41 years old, and in my lifetime, we've never had a Republican governor follow a Republican governor.
Mm-hmm.
Which, think about that for a second. Isn't that incredible? But yeah, we have a plan in place once we win tonight to hit the ground running, full steam ahead. We're actually going to be pressing the accelerator, not resting here, because it's incredibly important that elections have consequences, and to make sure that we have a Republican governor in the governor's office appointing Supreme Court judges, leading our state conservatively, is incredibly important. And Jeff Colyer has the best opportunity, fares the best against a potential Democrat, and has the best chance for Republicans to maintain the governorship after November.
Mm-hmm. I think people are really excited about this. As of yesterday, according to the Wichita Eagle, that here in Sedgwick County, our early voting numbers are up 65% from what we've seen in 2014. We have a lot of conservative contenders in many of the House races. Tracy, I think that we're going to see a massive turnout, and we're going to see some really great things happen moving forward.
I do too, Andy, and we're really excited about that. We're talking to so many of our voters, supporters who've already voted, encouraging their friends to vote. We also think we're going to have a high turnout, which is fantastic. And, that's democracy in action.
That it really is. Lieutenant Governor Tracy Mann, we got just about a minute left before the bottom of the hour, but last word from you guys to get people out to the voting booth and to support Governor Jeff Colyer and Tracy Mann.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me on. I would appreciate everybody's vote for Governor Colyer here today. Governor Colyer is a proven conservative. He's proven over the last 6 months that he can lead our state. He is the candidate who can win in November. We were endorsed by Kansas for Life, the NRA, Kansas Farm Bureau, KLA, and Bob Dole. And Bob Dole last week said that Governor Colyer is the person to win in November, and we'd appreciate everybody's vote here today.
There it is, Lieutenant Governor Tracy Mann. Good luck to you guys. I really appreciate you guys coming on and talking as you guys have, and I look forward to chatting with you guys down the road here.
Sounds great. Thanks a lot, Andy.
Love it very much. Lieutenant Governor Tracy Mann right there. We'll take a bottom of the hour break. When we come back, City Council member Mr. Brian Fry in studio with us on Election Day. This is The Voice of Reason. Stay here.
I can see myself tearing up the road faster than any other boy has ever gone.
It's time for some common sense, sanity, and reason.
You can't handle the truth.
This is The Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier.
That's kind of the way we do things around here. Welcome back into The Voice of Reason on Election Day, Tuesday. It's great to have you along. 36 minutes past the hour. 316-721-8255, 316-721-TALK. I love the fact that it is an open line for candidates just to jump in and say, you know what? The Voice of Reason. That's where the listeners go. That's where the constituents and the voters go, and I want to talk to them one last time to get them to go out and vote. We appreciate all the candidates. And again, this is not scheduled. It's just, hey, there's a show. Let's make this happen. I love it. 316-721-8255. So I was, as we're going into the bottom of the hour and getting things ready, then what do I see? But I see a pirate walk on in here. As, arg. As we have our city council member, Mr. Brian Fry. Yep. And I love it. City council member and, the nice eye patch going on. And, being Mr. City that you are, not only do you have an eye patch, you have an eye patch with a Wichita flag on it.
Yep, I got to represent, right?
Got to represent. So what happened? I mean, were you out, looting and, sailing around? What's the story
I
here?
wish I had a great story to tell, but I don't. Tuesday night, I had emergency surgery for a detached retina.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah. Bottom line is, if you have any issue with your eye, get in as quickly as possible. The quicker they can work on this, the better you are. I had an amazing surgeon, and just very fortunate that everything has turned out well. But yeah, I got to rock the eye patch for about 8 weeks.
Fun.
Pretty limits my activity, but
I can see you on the bench now during the city council meeting and be like, "Arr, don't you be talking like that to me
That's
now."
right. Hey, bring the eye jokes. The cornier, the better. Okay.
We'll have to sneak some in here throughout. So it's good to talk to you again. I'm glad everything's okay, though. Glad.
Oh, yes,
that
thank you.
Surgeries
Yep.
went well.
Yep, I was very fortunate.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Blessed to have the medical care that we have in this country. So,
see, that is true. Well done on that one. That's exactly what it is. Coming up today, first off, is Election Day, the greatest day of the year.
Absolutely, and thank you so much for having this opportunity. I mean, you forget that local radio is really what's important in a community when you don't have these kind of opportunities to come in and talk about issues and elections. And so thank you for giving us the opportunity to do that. I know I've been listening this morning as people have been calling in, and it's great. I know it's unscripted, it's unplanned, but it's just another opportunity for people to get their message out. And again, I want to thank you for that.
No, I appreciate that. Yeah.
KQAM.
No, absolutely. No, we appreciate that. This is what it's all about. And they always call me a dork because, I get all giddy about this stuff.
It's your Christmas.
This is my Christmas. I've had a few social media messages and emails saying, "Andy, I've never been involved in politics before, never got engaged. You have so much excitement. I don't know where you get it, but now I'm excited and involved in this as well." And that's what I want to hear. I did my job.
So in my previous life, when I was in television, I would always help out on election nights.
Sure.
And I'd stay and help enter, all the results and do all the tracking and helping getting the numbers on screen. And, it was normally 1 or 2 in the morning by the time we get finished every year. But it was fun because you'd love seeing the updates and you love seeing how it changes. And so I kind of got that in my blood. And now I'm on the other side of it with, running elections and I'm not up this year. I'm up next year for a re-election. But it's a great opportunity, and it's fantastic that we have this right in our country.
Sure. No, absolutely. And are you one of those where you like to watch the different districts and be like, oh, well, this one's leaning towards, and the early voting shows this, and I think it's going to go, and you're the one doing all the predictions for the different counties?
Oh, yeah. Definitely. I'm a watcher. I'm a hawk. I definitely, not only city and county races, which are the most local, but also certainly the House and representative races. My other job with the Kansas Chamber, that's very important for us as well. So tracking statewide what's going on.
Absolutely. I love it. It's going to be a great night. By the way, we will have some coverage here on KQAM tonight for the election. We do have NBC Baseball tonight, which, NBC Baseball, it's great stuff.
Yep.
We will be covering that.
You just need some apple pie.
You just need some apple pie. We have elections and baseball and then moonshine and apple pie. What more do you need? There you go. So we will have some coverage during the NBC Baseball game tonight, starting at about 7:30 here on KQAM. Let's talk about the city council meeting today. There's kind of a big meeting.
Yeah, so this is the first meeting, first public meeting that we've had since the manager presented the budget back on July 17th.
Mm-hmm.
So 3 weeks ago. That'll be our first full-fledged meeting since then. And, that budget had numerous cuts in it, things like libraries and golf course and city arts and different things. And we've heard from a lot of people via email, varying phone calls, varying face-to-face meetings, etc., all of us on the council. And we've come up with some ideas to restore some of those cuts for this year, knowing that we have got to do better in future years on these operations, library branches, city arts, other things like that, golf courses. So that while we have a temporary fix on these cuts, the long-term picture needs to be focused on sustainability and how can we be more efficient, how can we operate better so that we're not throwing taxpayer dollars away.
Sure. Sure. And I mean, I know one of the big concerns, obviously, at the statewide issue that's really been a focus with the elections is, of course, tax increases and spending. That's the same kind of issue that's been relevant at the local level as well when it comes to tax rates, and hoping that we don't see any tax increases, and hoping that the budget and the spending can kind of, can reflect what we're seeing with current tax revenue.
So this budget, just like the previous 24 budgets, doesn't increase property mills.
Sure.
There is no property mill increase for the 25th consecutive year. A lot of people have said, well, maybe it's time to do that. Maybe it's time that you finally raise it. I like to think that no, I think maybe it's time we continue to cut and be more efficient and try to figure out how to save dollars.
Sure.
Because it's not my money, it's your money, and we need to make sure that we're operating the most efficient way possible. It's easy to say raise taxes. Well, no, it's not. It's not that easy to do. That's why this budget is, this is one of two books that's 4 inches thick.
Sure.
There's a lot of detail in there, and we've got to go through and we can find the money, and we can be more efficient, and we can do some other things differently so that we don't have to raise taxes.
Sure.
And that's really what the focus was on, doing those core essential activities, police and fire safety. Don't forget, this budget adds 32 more police officers, police support staff to the department. That goes a long way to making this community safer.
Sure.
And that's really the priority. We're also adding another $1 million on top of the $8 million for street maintenance. That too is an increase this year. So we're able to do some core services without raising taxes, and yet we're also able to restore some of those cuts that were painful for some groups.
Sure.
And again, we're finding solutions. They're temporary solutions, but long term, we have to focus on sustainability and operate more efficiently.
Sure.
And that's really what this budget year was about, is focus on the core things, those things that we're supposed to do, and do them well, and then where we can, support it, in a most efficient way.
Sure. The smaller stuff, as you mentioned, some of the core stuff, and I'm glad that we're focusing a lot on the core. Some of the smaller stuff, like the nickel and diming things that we can start consolidating or cutting, and I know we've talked about this before with some deregulations, whether it's, the libraries or whether it's the golf courses or whether it's the pools and some of these other things that go along with that. How are those affected in positive or negative ways with some of these budget proposals?
So the big one is Clapp Golf Course.
Okay.
It's on pace this year to already, I think it's already lost $250,000 this year, and on pace to maybe lose $300,000. I believe that's the numbers. So we know we have to do something different there, but we're not going to close it down yet.
Sure.
Or maybe not at all. We don't know yet. We're going to do some master planning with the neighborhood, and if the neighborhood and the area residents determine that it still needs to be golf,
sure,
then we'll figure out how to do that. But we need to do some master planning to figure out what it is the neighborhood really wants. Is there a golf element? Is there a 9-hole par 3? Or is it an 18-hole par 3? Whatever.
I don't know what that means, but okay.
You're not a golfer, right?
I'm not a golfer, yeah.
So basically a par 3 course is every hole is only par 3. So you play a lot faster.
Okay.
Each hole is shorter. So it's not as intense as, maybe you can get in a round of golf in 2.5 hours as opposed to 4 hours.
Gotcha.
So that way you can get more rounds in, so you can bring in more revenue.
Unless you're swinging like Happy Gilmore, then of course
exactly.
only goes one. Yeah.
But we know that that's an area that we can do a lot better with because we're just losing too much money year after year with that operation. So figuring out what the community wants, and if that's the case, then plan for it accordingly.
Sure.
Library branches. We know that with the new downtown advanced learning library, patterns are changing and people are using the library system differently. Do we have the branches on the right place? Are they equipped properly? We know that one branch library it's $100,000, but it's used by primarily the same audience that's going to the advanced learning library.
Sure.
So maybe it's not in the right place. Maybe it should be in a different place that could be operate with a greater turnout, more people using it. So those are all things that we have to look at. Those are the two big ones, the libraries and golf courses,
sure.
The biggest difference.
Sure. No, absolutely. And then, of course, I know the pools have been in discussion versus the splash pads. Are those addressed in this budget, or is that another project outside of this stuff?
Right. So in the capital improvement budget, we still have the approved aquatics plan that had 4 pools and then 9 splash pads.
Okay.
So now we had a council meeting where we looked at where to put that 4th pool, and we can't agree on where it should go.
Sure.
And that was the one that was replacing McAdams. Whether it goes back in the McAdams spot or if it goes to Edgemore or some other to be determined place, we haven't finalized that discussion. So we need to continue to have the aquatics discussion. Does it make sense to continue to have 4 pools? Or maybe we should just do 1 pool? Or maybe it's the 4 pools. That's something that we're still going to continue to have the discussion on.
Sure.
The aquatics plan is in the capital plan, so it's funded, and we can do it. The decision now is where do we put that 4th pool? The splash pads, we've gone forward with the design, and we're getting ready to start with those next year and to start seeing some of these put in places where we don't have splash pads.
Sure.
A couple of parks that haven't had them before. Never had a pool. So it's a new amenity. It's a new quality of life issue for folks. So all in all, it's progress, but we're also being very realistic with what we have in the budget and not raising taxes.
Sure.
There has been some talk on, like I said, property tax. There's been talk about a sales tax for quality of life issues. Is the community ready for that? I think we'll see a lot when the Project Wichita survey results come out later this fall. And what is the capacity for this community? Is it something they're serious about?
Sure.
And we'll have to go from there.
So what's the next process? I mean, the budget, as you mentioned, there's still in the debate, still the process today. How long is this going to take, and kind of what's the discussion going to look like today?
So again, today we bring back the budget from the 17th with the new changes, where the cuts are eliminated and restored funding with some other ideas that we've come up, and hear the public input on that.
Sure.
And then next week will be one more hearing before we have to adopt it. And so we have to adopt a balanced budget by state charter on the 14th.
Okay. So we're getting close.
Yeah.
We're getting close.
Yep. So, again, public input today, and then public input next week, and then we'll have a final say.
Perfect. I love it. Wichita City Councilmember Brian Fry, the meeting coming up today. How can people go to that, and where can they go if they want to listen in?
You bet. So today's council meeting starts at 9 a.m. at City Hall, first floor. That's at Central and Main. We expect a large crowd today, so you'll probably want to come early. We have 5 speakers on the public agenda, and we have a couple of other business items that nothing too challenging. And then I think the budget hearing is about the 4th item on the agenda. So by about 9:30, 9:45, we should be into the budget hearing stuff.
Perfect. It's going to be good. It's good, juicy details.
That's right.
That's what I'm all about.
Right. And get out and vote today.
Exactly. Get out and vote today. I love it. Wichita City Councilmember Brian Fry. Always good to talk to you, my friend.
Thank you, Andy.
Good luck. Have fun today. We'll chat with you again next Tuesday. And you got it. You already have. Did you get your sticker? Your I voted.
Yep. I voted early.
You already voted early. It opens at 6 a.m.
I voted Saturday.
Oh, you voted Saturday?
That
early.
You did
the early voting. Very good. Well, I love it. We'll talk to you again next week, sir.
All right. Thank you.
Always a pleasure. 10 minutes to the top of the hour. Let's take a break as we wrap up hour number 2. Lots more to get to today on The Voice of Reason on Election Day. This is The Voice of Reason. Stay here.
You're listening to The Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier.
Minutes at the top of the hour. Welcome into The Voice of Reason as we roll along today on Election Day. It's great to have you along. Thanks again to Brian Fry, Wichita City Council member, joining the program. More candidates probably chiming in throughout the 8 o'clock hour as well. Stay tuned in for that. Until then, let's go to the phones. 316-721-8255. Your thoughts today. I want to hear from you. If you voted already this morning, I want to see pictures of your I voted sticker. Let me know how the polling places are as well. Is it busy? Is there an excitement going on? What's the scoop as of this morning? Let's go to the phones. Line number 1. Good morning. What's your name?
Hi, Andy. This is Helen.
Good morning, Helen. How are you today?
I'm doing just great. Well, my family already voted by mail-in ballot. We weren't allowed to be able to go into the precincts to vote early. We had to do it by mail.
Okay.
Mail-in ballot. But we did.
You did. You voted. You got. You're ready to go with that. How did it feel? You feel good about your votes?
Oh, gosh, definitely. Well, and I got a robocall that said that Trump was endorsing Chris Kobach.
Yes.
So,
yes, it was actually official yesterday. President Trump did send out his official tweet yesterday endorsing Chris Kobach with his full support and endorsement and encouraging everybody to get out the vote today. And then I did as well. I got that robocall last night saying President Donald Trump endorsing Chris Kobach. So that's big news. I wonder if that's going to affect anybody one way or another when it comes to people going out to the voting booth.
well, I hope that they're smart enough to figure it out. That's the right way to go.
Well, there we are.
Anyway,
yeah, go for it.
Oh, okay. You were saying that it's our civic duty to go out and vote.
Yes.
But it's also our individual self-survival duty. I mean, self-preservation duty. I mean, gosh, if we don't go out and vote for the right person, then we're going to get probably the bad person, and they're going to make our lives miserable.
Informed and intelligent voting. You're absolutely right. I mean, it's not just your civic duty, which it should be just your civic duty to say, hey, you know what? It's voting time. It's time to get out and actually vote. That would be nice, but there's more to it than that. And you're absolutely right that it is vital for us to go out and make our voice heard as an informed citizen, because so many don't do that today, which has led to, I think, a lot of the situations and environments that we're in today.
Exactly. Like God says in Ephesians chapter 6:12, we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, which is like presidents of men, politics of men, against powers, against the rulers of darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. We're in a spiritual war, so you got to get out there and fight for yourself.
I love it. Helen, I appreciate that very much. Go and vote today. I love it. The early voting from Helen and the family right there, making their voices heard. By the way, the tweet that came out from President Donald Trump yesterday, Chris Kobach, a strong and early supporter of mine, is running for governor of the great state of Kansas. He is a fantastic guy who loves his state and our country. He will be a great governor and has my full and total endorsement. Strong on crime, border, and military. Vote Tuesday. That was the tweet that came out from President Trump as of yesterday with his endorsement of Chris Kobach for that governor's race. We'll wrap up hour number 2, hour 3 right around the corner. More candidates calling in, more of your phone calls after you have voted. I want to hear from you on Election Day. This is The Voice of Reason. Stay here.
It's time for Reason.
I mean, if he's a socialist, then being a civil rights attorney, being a lawyer, every bit of money that he brings in, he should probably donate. I mean, like all of it. He doesn't deserve any. He should be back to that level again, right? Because there are people that live at that level, and that's unfortunate for them. He should probably be living on food stamps because all the revenue and profits that he generates from his legal services, he should probably donate and give to somebody else.
This is The Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier.
Then I get on my knees and pray. We don't get fooled again. Don't get fooled again.
That's what I'm talking about. Welcome into The Voice of Reason, hour number 3 of The Voice of Reason, broadcasting live out of the heart of the nation here in Wichita, Kansas. Right here on the Big Talker, 1480 on the AM side, 102.5 at the FM side, KQAM. Simulcasting on TV as well, KGPT TV, channel 2610. Good morning, welcome aboard. It's great to have you along today on Election Tuesday. Can you believe it? We finally made it. It is the greatest day of the year, and I'm more excited than I have been in a really long time. We have an early voter turnout that is 65% higher than what we saw in 2014 for the midterm elections. Then I am excited about the fact that we have conservatives challenging people all over the state. I am excited the fact that we can maintain Republican majorities. I am excited that we're going to set the tone today for what the party actually stands for. 316-721-8255, 316-721-TALK. I have some more audio montages, if you want to put it that way, of different candidates that we've had on the show. We've played the governor's one. We've played the House one. I may play those again if we have a chance. I also have the judges race and the Secretary of State's race, so we will play in this hour as well. Before we run out of time, we do have some candidates that may be joining the show as well this hour at some point, talking about the last little push to get out the vote and their platforms again to remind you of what they stand for as we go into the election. But until then, it is open lines to you as well. We do want to hear from you today if you go and vote, if you're planning to vote, and are you just as excited as I am, or am I just the dork that tries to get you excited in the morning to go and do something like this where you're just like, I got to go out of my way to go vote again? I don't know. Some people may believe that. I don't know what your thoughts are. 316-721-8255. Let's go to the phones. Go to line at number 1. Good morning. What's your name?
Hey, it's Deacon.
Deacon, what's happening, sir?
Man, it's a beautiful day.
Making it happen. It's more fun every day.
More fun every day. I can't wait till this afternoon.
It's good. That's when you're going to vote, right?
Yeah, well, see, my wife and I, we are so into, being part of the election process that we make it a point to go together. It's a family event.
See, that's what I'm talking about. It's the family it's the family outing. It's almost like a date night, right?
It really is. I had a buddy of mine this morning. He goes, "Did you go vote?" Yeah, I said, "No, I vote with my wife in the afternoon." He goes, "What, do you guys hold hands going in?" I said, "Yeah, we link arms and skip on the way out." So we did it. We did it.
I love it. I love it. Yes, it's so funny because my wife and I are doing the same thing. I told her because she was, when we first moved here, she was kind of back and forth from Colorado and Ohio, and she hadn't been able to get everything transferred over her personally yet. So this is the first election since we've been here that she actually gets to vote in the Kansas election. And I told her, I said, honey, because our precinct is literally right across the street from us, and I said, do not go and vote. Wait until I get home. We will go together because I feel the same way. It is going to be a date night tonight. We're going to go, we're going to cast our ballot, and then I'm going to get her something so special. She is going to walk out with an I voted sticker that I will get for her, and it will be the perfect date night.
That's right. And I know I've told you before that, my dad, he fought in Vietnam, and my grandfather, he fought in World War II. And, they went to fight for my right to stand there and go, you know what, this is what I stand for as an American.
Exactly.
And it's just the most beautiful thing in the world to me.
I love it. How are you feeling going into the election? We've talked about some of the contenders and some of the opponents in some of these House races, the governor's race that's heated up. How are you feeling going into this race today?
It's like, it's the big game. You're excited and you're hoping your team wins. And, I'm pumped, and I'm feeling really good about Chris Kobach. Unfortunately, I'm not getting as good a vibe about Will Carpenter, but, hey, we can always, pull it out and just get it done, because Will Carpenter is the conservative option for District 75. So get out, go vote, press the button for Will Carpenter, press the button for Chris Kobach, and let's get it done. Let's get Kansas back on the right track.
There it is. Deacon right there. Coming from, you said District number 75. That's the El Dorado, Towanda, and Cassidy area. Mary Martha Good being the incumbent in that seat. As you mentioned, Will Carpenter being the challenger there. We'll see if they can do it. I know that from what we've talked about, that he had a great grassroots campaign. He was knocking on a lot of doors, and we'll see if something happens there.
I'm hopeful. I'm praying, and, it's just going to be a great day for this republic, no matter what.
Amen to that one. I love it. Deacon, appreciate the call very much, my friend. Just as much as excitement. See, that's what we're all about. The excitement, the giddiness. Make it a date night tonight. Go out, go vote, get your sticker, and you know what? You got your wife or your significant other something special with that. To me, the I voted sticker is just about as good as a rose, right? I mean, come on, it's just about as good as a rose, if not better than a rose. I mean, your wife, you get her a rose and just, later on it dies out. I mean, the sticker can be on you forever. It's the sticker for life. 316-721-8255. 13 minutes past the hour. Let's play one of the audio blips here of some of our candidates from Secretary of State. We've had on not all of them, but many of the Secretary of State candidates. We had on Scott Schwab, we've had on Craig McCullough, we've had on Keith Esau. A lot of different ideas, a lot of the same ideas when it comes to these races, especially for the Secretary of State. Not one that's as much in the news or as hotly talked about, but still one of the extremely important races that's happening today. You get to decide what they believe in. This is what's happened on The Voice of Reason here for the Secretary of State's race 2018 for the Republicans.
Keith Esau.
He is Republican House Representative. He's also candidate for the Secretary of State position in the state of Kansas. Mr. Keith Esau is on the line with us.
Well, I've always been interested in maps and elections. I actually looked at running for Secretary of State before I knew what I was doing back in 2006. But I worked for a long time. I worked within the party to recruit people, always interested in where the map lines were and why the map lines were drawn certain ways, make sure that the process is fair and that everybody has the ability to get out and vote. You know, I'm a chair of the elections committee now in the House.
Sure.
And I'm glad I've learned a lot of the process by working in the House, and I think it's time to move up. And I'm also a computer IT professional, so I think with all the attacks that are coming on voter databases and other things, we need to make sure that we have an IT professional at the top of the ticket there to keep our voter data safe. The Secretary of State is basically a records-keeping office. They keep track of all the business filings, the annual reports from businesses, the lien holdings. You know, there's a lot of little things that the Secretary of State's office does, but they're all vital things to the way our state works and the economy in our state. And we want to make sure that everything is done efficiently and improve the way that we can assist businesses in getting their reports done and finding all the certain forms that they need to file. What we have in place are what most Kansans think are common sense proposals. You should need to show your ID when you come to vote. You should be a citizen to register to vote. You know, I've gone to lots of small groups, and the only place I've seen people complaining about this is the ACLU and some people in the paper, but everybody I meet with in the coffee shops across Kansas, they think this is common sense. We protect our right to vote. It's not only a right, it's a responsibility and a duty to vote. And we want people who are involved in the process, and you know, we want to keep those protections in place. Well, I would like to make sure that we keep our protections in place. We put in place ways to make it easier for people to help people and assist people in finding the documents they need for registering to vote. I want to be in the office a lot more than some of our previous secretaries of state have been. I've got a perfect attendance record in the House here, and I intend to be in the office more than 75% of the time during, you know, there are times when you have to go out of state to do other things, but I want to make the Secretary of State's office available to the people and make all sorts of filings easier to do.
Craig McCullough,
Republican candidate for Secretary of State. Mr. Craig McCullough on the line with us.
I joined the Secretary of State's office in 2015. You know, I actually applied for a different job, but 3 out of the 4 people on the interview panel worked for the Secretary of State, and they said, "Hey, Craig, we're going to hire this other guy for this job. We want you to come work for us." So I was there ever since. A year later, promoted to Deputy Assistant Secretary of State, and I just had an absolute blast working there. Being our own constitutional office, we have a lot more flexibility to get stuff done. A lot of times in government, there's tons of roadblocks you have to get through. But this office, I think, makes it possible we can become the best agency in state government. I think as we look back at the history of different Secretary of State, you know, Thornburg and Bill Graves and Jack Breyer, these are guys that had worked in the office prior to running. So it kind of resembled more of a family business than a government office. But technology is changing. And anytime you introduce technology into the election process, there are also vulnerabilities. So we see Secretary Kobach go out and get that proof of, or that photo ID. He's gone out and got proof of citizenship. And I can tell you definitively that those have helped the security, increase the security of Kansas elections. My first priority is I want to lower our business filing. Kansas doesn't have very high fees, but that's not the point. Every year we return $8 to $10 million back to the state general fund. And considering we're a fee-funded agency, those fees should be covered or set to cover the cost of the agency, not to act as another failed tax against small business owners. So if we can reduce the fees, I'd like to do that. Increasing the security for election systems will always be foremost. I mean, that is number one priority. Second thing, I want to increase the services of the Kansas Business Center to make it easier to start, operate, and grow your business in Kansas. And, lastly, I want to make sure we get those business filing fees down.
Scott Schwab.
He is state representative, also candidate for the Republican side for the Secretary of State, Mr. Scott Schwab.
I think people just like our message. We don't want to change a bunch of stuff on the election code. We want to execute what we've done over the last 8 years on a high level. So whether it's Sheridan County or whether it's Atchison County, all those election clerks understand the law the same way and they execute the law in the same way. Mm-hmm. And that way you get trusted results in your election. As a matter of fact, Russia is saying their number one battle against the United States is try to frustrate their elections so they don't trust their system. So we're going to be the front lines on that. We're going to make sure there's integrity with the voter ID and proof of citizenship so that we can go forward and say, hey, the result is the result. You may not like the result, but you can trust it. Folks want to know, are you going to undo our voter ID law? People want that protected. They don't want to change. And they ask me the question in the negative to try to bait me. But I know what I believe. I helped work on that law as chair of the committee when we passed it. No, we're not going to undo our voter ID law. Part of the reason why Chris has not had tons of fraud that he's prosecuting is because we now have voter ID. When we didn't have voter ID, people would vote in other people's stead. And then I never voted those local elections. All of a sudden I decide to, because let's say my brother-in-law is on the ballot, and I show up after work and they say, hey, you already voted.
Sure.
No, I didn't. Well, who voted in my stead? I don't know. It was against the law to check their ID.
You want to make sure that office is run at an efficient level. And a lot of, literally it's a secretarial position. You don't have much regulatory authority. You really don't have any policy-making authority. You just want to make sure as you execute and manage, it's at a high level and a secure level. And that's what we want to do. The only thing that we may increase resources for, which would not require a fee increase, it would not require a tax increase because the office generates enough fees that some of it ends up going to the state general fund. It's just reserve some of that money back to improve systems to protect security. Because right now, if hackers can hack Equifax, they can hack Cherokee County. So what we want to do is create a system so that when you create a nonprofit or a small business, your tax ID and your information is secure. And if we can do that without raising fees or taxes, that's a win.
There it is, candidates for Secretary of State 2018 on the Republican side. There are a few more candidates we did not get on the air, but those are the ones that did join us here on The Voice of Reason. We appreciate that very much. So we'll take a break, get your phone calls when we come back, plus more candidates lined up, maybe if they choose to call in today on The Voice of Reason. 21 minutes past the hour. It is Election Tuesday. Stay right here.
This is The Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier on the Big Talker, KQAM.
26 minutes past the hour. Welcome back into The Voice of Reason as we continue on Election Day today. It's great to have you along as we wake you up, start your day off, and get you pumped up and excited for Election Day. 316-721-8255. And on the line with us, another candidate, another elected official, Sedgwick County Commissioner, Mr. Jim Howell with us. Jim, how are you, sir?
I'm doing great, Andy. I'm loving the rain and the cool morning, and it's exciting.
Boy, I tell you what.
Finally get this day here.
It really sets the tone for today, doesn't it?
It really does. I tell you what, I like to vote on Election Day, so I went to the poll site this morning and voted, and I just love exercising my right to vote. I look forward to it, and it's an exciting experience and actually kind of fun. And anyway, just really looking forward to having today and see how the results come in tonight. It's kind of, you call it a Super Bowl, and I completely agree.
See, I agree. I think it is. That's going to be a big one. Any predictions? How do you think some of the races are going to turn out today?
Oh, I'll tell you what. There's a couple that are extremely close. I think the governor's race is going to be razor thin. Maybe I'm wrong. I think District 4, my colleague Richard Ranzaw is, of course, in a very tough race, but that's going to be a very interesting race to watch tonight. I think it's going to be very, very close. I think that one could go either way. A lot of these are going to be blowouts, at least I hope they are. Myself, I am on the ballot. I don't have an opponent in the primary, but of course I do in the November general.
Mm-hmm.
But I still think everybody should vote, even if if you support a candidate. I think it's great to go out there and push those buttons to support those candidates, even if they don't have an opponent at this time. I mean, they may have one in November, so just declare your support. It helps them understand exactly where they're at in the race. But in terms of close races, I think the Kirby-Loudon race will be very close. I think the Secretary of State's race will be very, maybe I'm wrong about that, but I sense that Scott Schwab is probably going to be the winner in that race. But I do think it's going to be an interesting race because it is a 5-way primary. So
Sure.
Sometimes you get surprised by those things. So a number of these races we're going to watch very, very closely tonight. I think the one that's most interesting, of course, I think everybody would agree. The two I think that are most interesting would be the Ron Estes for Congress race. I hope that just is a blowout. But it is interesting to see the tactics of the left. And then finally, of course, the governor's race. To me, that is the most important thing in our state right now.
Sure.
Is making sure we get the best leader at the top.
That is very true, and that's going to be a very interesting race because, as we mentioned, I mean, every 8 years we switch parties, and this would be the year of the Democrat. It's whether the Republicans can maintain the Republican governorship, which will be a very tough race, I think.
What's most interesting is I was elected in 2010 and took office in 2011 in the State House, and I didn't really think about this at the time, but in 2012 we had to do redistricting, and that was a very, very complicated process. Whoever gets elected this round will be the governor when we redistrict in 2022, and that is going to have a 10-year impact on our state. And then, of course, as county commissioners, we also do redistricting in 2022, and so that same thing is true for those officials being elected to county commissioner. So this is a very important race for the next decade.
Well, that is very true. I mean, we're going to, as we've been mentioning, this race is going to be one of the more important that we've seen in a long time because of the longevity of the results in a pro or con way that we may actually have. Sedgwick County Commissioner Jim Howell, no primary today, but getting ready for the general election. I know you're going to have some fun with that one. Good luck to you, my friend. We'll talk again real soon.
All right.
Always a pleasure right there. Sedgwick County Commissioner Jim Howell. We'll take a break. We'll play some more audio when we come back. Also, some more candidates that may or may not be calling into the program. We'll follow those when we come back. This is The Voice of Reason.
How do we relight the flame when it's cold? Why do we dream when our thoughts mean nothing? And when will we learn to control?
When it takes two to read the news,
I'm trying to warn everybody and nobody takes me cereal.
You're in the wrong place. This is The Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier on the Big Talker, 1480 AM and 102.5 FM, KQAM.
Doing the thing, having fun, wrapping up the show today on Election Day, which is our Super Bowl, which is our Christmas time, which is the most patriotic day of the entire year as we go into election 2018, the primary, setting the tone for what we stand on, what we believe in, and having fun doing it as well. 316-721-8255. It is open lines to you to talk about the race. If you have voted, I want to hear about your experience. Are the precincts full? Is it exciting there, or was it a bit of a dud? Also, candidates are more than welcome to call in. It's a last-minute push to get out the vote as well. And one candidate is on the line with us. It's been a really fun race watching what's happening up in the 2nd Congressional District. We've had him on the show before as well, but State Senator Steve Fitzgerald with us. Steve, how are you, my friend?
Never better, Andy. Thank you for having me on. I appreciate it. And getting out the vote is the main thing to do today.
Getting out the vote. I love it. How's the campaign feel so far as we go into the last day today?
We're feeling very good, to tell you the truth. The situation with this guy Watkins that we talked about earlier, trying to buy the election, coming in from nowhere, millions of dollars, extremely slick ads, and he jumped ahead in the polls, but we're gaining on him fast. I think we're going to be able to overtake him because we challenged him. I went after him about a month ago when I first got wind of how bad he was. And we've been leading the charge ever since. So I think we're going to overtake him in the polls that really count today.
You know, it's been interesting to watch it from this side because obviously, I mean, we're not in that district, but it's been fun to see what's going on up there. And I mean, we've had Steve Watkins on the show a couple of times as well, and you know, it was a bit of a shock to some degree. For others, it may not have been. But when it came out about the fact that he had met with Democrats prior to running and registering as a Republican to run for the race in that sense, and the wife working for Planned Parenthood that hit him a little bit when it came to that, the audio clip that came out saying that he was a pro-choice Christian. I mean, some things started to come out that weren't necessarily in line with some of the conservative values that people thought that he had.
Right. He has no background, no experience in politics. In fact, until this campaign, he had never voted anywhere. He lied, said that he voted in Alaska. That was checked out. He did not. He said he forgot to send in his ballot for Trump. Turns out he never requested a ballot. As you say, and he supported Democrats. His family supported Democrats. I think the man has no values, will say anything to get elected and spend any amount of money.
Very interesting. Well, I know that you've been running, and from the conservative standpoint, talk about your platform again, and what's been kind of the talk on the streets as you go out and knock doors and talk to people.
Well, my platform, very briefly, is pro-life, pro-Second Amendment. We're trying to make sure that we get the president's agenda of restored American security and bring back American prosperity, which is working right now. I made that part of my platform over a year ago when I announced. We're hearing on the street that people are interested in the race. Obviously, it's a little bit confusing because there are so many people in the race, but I bring the breadth of experience and the demonstrated capability to take on the hard issues. I've been outspoken. I've been controversial in the press for a number of things, mostly for defending our values and being attacked for that. So people hear it, they resonate with that. And again, we've got some really good candidates in the race, but Watkins is not one of them.
Looking into the general election, if you end up getting the nomination, Paul Davis, the Democrats, been sitting back, not having necessarily a primary challenger, and kind of collecting some money. It's going to be a tough race going into the general. What's the strategy or what's the plan for any Republican, or if you end up getting the seat or getting the nomination to go into the general against Paul Davis?
Well, I'll tell you, I'm a fighter. The other candidates are not necessarily fighters. I will go in toe-to-toe, and that's the main thing that I think is going to stop Watkins is the fact that I came against him, and I'm going to do the same thing going against Paul Davis. I will point out that he is, in fact, a very liberal Democrat. He has a record as minority leader in the House in Topeka that I don't think he wants to talk about. He has a platform with the Democrat Party that is not going to resonate well with the people of the 2nd District, and I think he's got some Democrat leaders like Nancy Pelosi and others that I don't think he can defend, and I'm going to force him to defend all of that. I don't think he can do that successfully, and I think if we bring a strong political attack, I think we can win this one handily.
Going into the general or into the primary here, I know that we've talked about it earlier today, but early voter turnout is massive here in Sedgwick County, 65% up over 2014's midterm election for the primary race, which is huge. I saw the numbers last week that said the statewide numbers are dramatically higher than 2016, 2014, 2010, all of the previous elections for the last few years, and 2-to-1 ratio of Republicans turning out over Democrats in the early voting, which is a bit of a shock as well. I know they talked about this blue wave coming, but I think the excitement, the energy the Republicans have, that I think it's going to fare well to not only Republicans, but it's going to fare well to conservative Republicans. Wouldn't you agree?
I do agree, Andy. The only thing is in the 2nd Congressional District, what we've seen or in the advanced voting is it's not up like you see in the 3rd District and in the 4th District. It's not up. We've got to really work hard to get the vote out. I do believe that the Republicans are going to take this, especially in November. I think this blue wave thing is a myth that the Democrats are telling themselves. We're going to take this one, and in November we're going to take it strong, and I think we're going to take it countrywide. I think we're going to see the election of Trump take 2. Then I think it's going to give us a Congress that's going to be able to cooperate with this government and get things done.
I like it. State Senator Steve Fitzgerald, candidate for the 2nd Congressional District. Good luck to you, my friend. Last message to all the listeners who may be listening in your district.
Everybody in the 2nd Congressional District, get out and vote. Vote for the candidate you like best. I hope it's me. But for God's sake, please do not vote for Watkins. Thank you very much.
There it is, Steve Fitzgerald. We appreciate it, my friend. Good luck to you, and we'll chat with you again here real soon.
Thank you so much, Andy. Take care. Have a great day.
You as well. Appreciate that. State Senator Steve Fitzgerald right there, candidate for the 2nd Congressional District, that open seat from Lynn Jenkins, stepping aside. And that's been one heck of a race. We have appreciated all of the candidates from that side and from that district coming on and chatting a little bit with us, including Steve Watkins. We have appreciated chatting with him very much so, and seeing what happens when it comes to that race in the 2nd District. Let's go to the phones. Open lines to you at 316-721-8255. Line number 2. Good morning. What's your name?
Andy, it's John the Libertarian.
John the Libertarian. What's happening, sir? How are you?
Oh, I'm doing great, sir. Thank you. I know you've been on the air all morning, so I didn't know if you had heard the announcement about the election today, but they're going to split it up. So most of us vote today, but all the socialists and Q followers vote next Friday.
See, there it is. There it is. You know, that is the way. It's a good time to kind of split it up a little bit. So all the socialists that are voting, you are delayed, and early voting starts tomorrow for you guys, and then Election Day on Friday.
That's it.
I love that. I love that. How's it looking? Did you go and vote yet this morning?
Well, no, I'm a libertarian, so I don't actually vote in the primaries. I just sit back and watch and see who I'm going to vote for in the general election.
In the general. Okay, so you're actually as a registered libertarian for the state.
Correct. Yeah,
Gotcha.
And we have a convention, and we pick all of our candidates at the convention, and they don't have to go through the primary process. So we just show up on general election. But it's still fun for me. I get to sit back and watch all the platform discussions and see who I might want to support in a couple months.
Sure. Well, and I wanted to ask, I mean, coming from that outside perspective, seeing the Democrats, seeing the Republicans in this governor's race and all these other House races, I mean, what's your perspective on this? Are you encouraged by the discussion right now? Are you concerned about some of the candidates that may be getting nominations? I mean, what's your feel for you guys going into the general?
You know, I see some real positives out there. I see some strong candidates. We're also seeing some really nasty things that we don't see. I mean, elections are always a bit contentious, but the things with Ron Estes having an imposter with absolutely no qualifications getting on the ballot because of his name only, and then with Richard Ranzau, the commerce. The name is escaping me right now, but with the attacks on him, and absolutely baseless. If there were ever a libertarian Republican that I could get behind, it would be him. And to say that he's out there wanting to raise taxes and wanting to stop businesses from coming, it's just ridiculous and a little bit nasty. But I do see some strong candidates, and I'm always optimistic about the future.
Absolutely. Well, I love it. Well, it's fun coming from that side of it. I mean, and coming from even as a registered libertarian, we were reading the stats yesterday that close to 31% of the state actually has unaffiliated registrations where they're not even registered to a party. They are able to go and actually vote in the primaries today. But then coming from the libertarian standpoint as well, it's going to be really fun to see what happens in this general election. Now, I haven't heard anything. Do the libertarians have a governor's candidate coming up as well?
Yeah, we've got a great governor candidate, a guy that I've known for years and years, Jeff Caldwell. He is the most pro-gun, pro-business candidate that you could vote for in this election. I mean, obviously, we usually get anywhere from 1% to 4% of the vote. But if people really sat down and looked at the issues and looked at the platform that he's running on, they might change their mind.
There we go. John the Libertarian. Appreciate it very much, my friend, and have fun watching and spectating all the shenanigans tonight.
Can't wait. All right. Thank you, Andy.
It's going to be a good time, John. Always a pleasure to talk to you there. Let's take a break, wrap up the show today. I got one more audio blurb to be able to play for the judges race. If you're concerned about the judges race, you can choose based on the candidates that came onto the program to the last couple of weeks. We'll play that when we come back. If you want to hear any of the other ones, we did play the governor's race. We did play the House one. We did play Secretary of State. If you missed them, get onto the podcast today, and then you can listen to those once we upload that right after the show. But we'll play that as soon as we come back. This is The Voice of Reason, 47 minutes past the hour on a Tuesday.
the voice of reason with Andy Hoosier.
To the top of the hour. Welcome back into the Voice of Reason. We got one more audio blurb to play for you for the judges race. Now, there are two divisions that are up with primary elections for the judges race, division number 7 and division number 17. And we split those up for the candidates that came onto the program. 2 candidates from division 17, 1 candidate from division number 7 have joined the program. This is what they had to say here on the Voice of Reason for the judges race 2018.
Election 2018. Linda Kirby.
She is candidate for district number 17 for the judges race. Linda Kirby.
People often say to me that they don't understand much about the judges and don't know them, but it's critically important. Sedgwick County last year had 61,000 cases filed, and it involved directly over 100,000 of our citizens. You need to have judges that know what they're doing if you're going to be making decisions for citizens. I think it's really important that we continue to elect judges so we can maintain the separation of power in all the branches of government. As I have gone through this election campaign, I ask people a question. 61,000 cases were filed in Sedgwick County last year, and I asked them, what percentage of those do you think were criminal cases? And I get estimates from 10% to 95%. By far, the most common is 50%. But in reality, the number of criminal law cases is only 6% of our cases. And of those, we only had 73 criminal trials. Most people are very surprised by that. Then they ask, well, what else do the judges do? 28% of our cases are traffic tickets. The rest of the cases aren't criminal at all. We have 65% of our cases that are civil, domestic, probate, which all of this includes things like issues that citizens have against other citizens. If somebody has not seen this kind of law before, it's very difficult to sort out from the beginning what kind of law applies to these cases. I think probably what's most important about my background is that I have practiced in the areas in Sedgwick County with Sedgwick County citizens in exactly the kinds of areas that are covered in 65% of the cases. I have done a small amount of criminal defense work, but my strength is in the civil, domestic, probate, and those kinds of cases. And I guess the other things that are really important about me is I am a genuine conservative. I am pro-life. I am a lifetime member of the NRA and a member of the Kansas Rifle Association. I think our Second Amendment rights are critically important, and we do need to guard those. As an attorney, I am often criticized that I don't know the law because I'm pro-life.
David Loudon.
On the phone with us now, judge candidate for division number 17. We have Dave Loudon.
My background is that I've been a 26-year prosecutor here in Sedgwick County. I've worked in every area from district court through the appellate courts. I shouldn't say every area. I should say I've worked in every aspect of the court system, from the district court to the appellate courts. And I've even been engaged in the U.S. Supreme Court with the Carr brothers capital murder cases. Didn't get to argue in those cases, but it was part of the briefing process, was in court when those were argued. Most of my career has been spent doing appellate work, which means that I've practiced in front of the Kansas Court of Appeals and the Kansas Supreme Court. I've spent a career evaluating judges, criticizing them about their behavior, supporting their decisions as well, supporting the decisions made and the actions of defense attorneys, and while also attacking them. So I understand the anatomy of a case and the importance of making good decisions at the district court level. The experience that I have with that has given me the opportunity to do a lot of research and to understand what not to do as a judge, which I think is just as important as knowing what to do as a judge. So with that experience, I think that's what makes me the most experienced candidate for this Division 17 race. What I'd like to have them take away is to do their research and determine who the best candidate is, not only by what they say, but what other people say about them. there have been numerous opportunities for people to read about my experience, whether it's the Wichita Eagle endorsement, the Bar Association evaluations, or things. We've had forums as well. And I think what that shows is there is a high level of respect for my legal abilities. It's not just me saying that. I'm endorsed by 7 retired district court judges or former district court judges. I'm endorsed by the Friends of the FOP Political Action Committee. That's the Fraternal Order of Police, Firefighters Union, of course, with the Eagle endorsement, and then District Attorney Mark Benton's endorsement too. And those endorsements don't come lightly. They come from a 26-year experience of having a good legal background and a good ethical background. I am a conservative candidate as far as my legal views, and I think that would resonate with Republican voters.
Roger Woods.
And in studio with us today from Division 7, candidate for the judge's seat, we have Roger Woods.
Having judges that understand their role certainly is important in the sense that, really the judge's role is to take the law as the legislature has written it, apply it to the facts in the case, and then use their judgment to make a sound decision. My background includes practicing in criminal and some civil. Additionally to that, I did have served in the Army and Army National Guard now for 27 years, still in the Army National Guard as a lieutenant colonel. So that's another aspect of that and the deployments and everything that go with that. Done some public policy work and currently serve as district counsel with 4th Congressional District Office. Doing mostly on a day-to-day basis a lot of work with veterans and military members as they try and navigate the VA and the military bureaucracy. The judging the judges on the Eagle, I'm really proud that I received a couple 100% ratings on ethics and professionalism. And I think those two things are key. There's a lot of other things that are important, but I think if candidate starts out with professionalism and high ethical standards, that goes a long way. I have been endorsed by the Kansans for Life PAC, also the Friends of the Fraternal Order of Police PAC, which is kind of interesting as somebody that started out doing defense work, but I suspect that is an understanding of my fairness and the way I'll approach cases and being open-minded and listening to all sides.
There it is, candidates for Judge Division number 7 and number 17. Appreciate all the candidates coming on from those races, and good luck to them and everybody else in those. Thanks again to all the candidates who have come on the show for every race, both over the last month or two and even this morning. We appreciate that very much. Good luck to everybody. Tonight we'll have coverage here on KQAM. Stay tuned in for that. And for all you listeners, go out and vote. Do your thing. Be the constituent. Practice your civic duty. If you want any more info on these candidates, reach out to me or listen to the podcast again with everything that we've discussed. We love it. We appreciate it very much. So everybody have a great Tuesday. It's Election Day. Go and celebrate. What do you say? We'll be back on Wednesday to recap everything. This is The Voice of Reason.